Welcome to another episode of Ankle Sore. Today we look at Essendon versus St Kilda, Round 10, 1996. What makes this game so interesting? Let's take a look. Before we start, let's give you an insight on where these two teams stood at Round 10. Essendon entered the contest on a 3-game winning streak and were sitting inside the top 8. St Kilda had won the pre-season Ansett Cup in front of nearly 70,000 fans, but was stuttering through the season, sitting in 11th position. So on a chilly Saturday night, in front of 43,925 fans, Essendon were leading by 20 points, 9-9-63 to 6-7-43. With just under 5 minutes remaining in the third quarter, with the ball over the boundary line in Essendon's forward pocket, while waiting for a boundary throw-in, darkness suddenly descended over VFL Park. A fault at a nearby United Energy substation had caused the Waverley floodlights to go out, leading to mass confusion for the players and the 43,925 fans who braved the winter's night. While the players expected the lights to return and the game continue, it became quite apparent the blackout was not going to end at any time soon, so both teams headed to the rooms. And so began scenes of both comical and dangerous to those present as everyone grappled with the near pitch black effect. One of the lingering images came from Channel 7's match coverage, with host Malcolm Blight explaining what had happened by torchlight, looking more like he was presenting a late-night horror movie than commentating an AFL game. With no resumption of play imminent and no information coming over the speakers, the crowd became vocal. One large group of spectators ventured onto the ground in the darkness and began lighting bonfires from rubbish and newspapers. Another decided to souvenir a point post at the main scoreboard end, ripping it out and triumphantly carrying it on a lap of honour. An emergency meeting of AFL club and ground officials took place in the dark. League Chief Executive Ross Oakley said a commission meeting would be held as soon as possible. Even that, however, was complicated by the fact it was a long weekend for the Queen's birthday. Also stating that he was not sure when the commission would be able to meet because of the holiday weekend, he was unsure where all 7 commissioners were. Finally, almost an hour after the blackout commenced, the match was officially cancelled. The match was officially abandoned at 10:15pm, 50 minutes after the power failure. After the game was abandoned, the league was forced to redeploy security guards to the outside of the ground to assist with ground control. But because Waverley's emergency power had failed, there was no way of making an announcement to the increasingly agitated and restless crowd. The league communications manager Tony Peake notified match umpires and officials of both clubs before announcing the decision. He said part of the confusion occurred because there was nothing in the rules of the game which covers this sort of circumstance. They spoke about how long a realistic time for the players would be to be off the field before they could restart, and both clubs felt that 10:15pm would be the latest they could leave it. Then when it was going to take a whole lot longer to get the power back on the ground, there was really no choice but to call the game off for the night. St Kilda President Andrew Plimpton was happy with 4 premiership points and 0 score, and not to alter the percentage. However, Essendon captain Gary O'Donnell disagreed. He believed they should get 4 premiership points each and count the score to the stage when it was called off. O'Donnell did not want to replay the game. Coach Kevin Sheedy added that with the schedule clubs have between now and the finals, it would be too hard to replay. Essendon did agree that both sides should receive 4 points, offering his unique perspective on the situation. The emergency meeting of the AFL Commission determined the result of the match would be a draw, as both clubs believed they should be awarded 4 points from the match, but the AFL had other ideas. After much deliberation, the league decided to complete the match on the following Tuesday night over 2 12-minute halves. More controversy followed. The AFL allowed both clubs to change their teams for the match's completion, allowing Essendon to select James Hurt, who had recovered from a fractured finger, which had prevented him from playing on the Saturday night. Fortunately for the AFL, he didn't poll a Brownlow vote from his 24-minute cameo on the Tuesday evening. We say fortunately because he'd end up sharing the Brownlow medal that year with Brisbane's Michael Voss. Think of the resultant controversy had he won outright with the votes from that game. So what did eventually happen? St Kilda got the first goal after the resumption, but it was Essendon who prevailed, kicking another 4 goals to the Saints' 3 to win by an eventual 22 points. A game starting at 7:40 p.m. on Saturday the 8th of June finally concluded at 8 p.m. on Tuesday the 11th of June, 3 days and 20 minutes later. We hope you enjoyed a look back at the night the VFL Park lights went out in round 10, 1996.